The Last Stand. The Dauntless hung motionless against the backdrop of New Eden's azure atmosphere, her weathered hull catching the light of the binary stars. Commander Elena Reyes stood at the bridge's observation window, her dark eyes fixed on the approaching collective fleet. Their ships gleamed like polished chrome, a stark contrast to the Dauntless's battle-scarred exterior. "Another demand for surrender, Commander," Lieutenant Zhang reported from his communication station. "The collective overseer says we're being unreasonable by resisting with such outdated equipment." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "Outdated. That's what they always say." She turned to face her bridge crew, each hand-picked for this assignment. "How many ships in their fleet? Tactical." 47 vessels, Commander. Mostly Harbinger-class destroyers. Their energy signatures suggest ninth-generation quantum drives. Lieutenant Santos' fingers danced across her holographic display. "Their weapon systems are, well, they're at least 3 generations ahead of anything we're supposed to have." Supposed to have. That was the key phrase. Elena's gaze drifted to the seemingly antiquated manual controls at her command station. The Dauntless had been in service for over a century, continuously modified, but never visibly upgraded. To most scanners, she appeared to be running on technology that was decades behind the galactic standard. "They're moving into attack formation," Santos reported. "Standard collective encirclement pattern." Elena nodded, settling into her command chair. "Send to all stations. Initiative Protocol Alpha. Authorization Reyes 7 Delta 9. Throughout the massive vessel, hidden systems began to stir. What appeared to be rust patches on the hull were actually clusters of quantum-sensitive metamaterials, capable of absorbing and redirecting energy in ways that defied conventional physics. The old-fashioned manual controls were linked to a neural network that learned and evolved with each engagement, combining human intuition with machine precision. The collective fleet's first salvo lit up space with a dazzling display of plasma fire. Their targeting computers had calculated the optimal firing solution based on the Dauntless's apparent capabilities. But the ancient warship wasn't where those calculations said it should be. "Evasive pattern Theta," Elena commanded, her hands moving across the controls with practiced precision. The Dauntless responded like a living thing, each motion smooth and purposeful. The plasma bolts passed through empty space as the ship seemed to dance between them. "Impossible." The collective overseer's voice crackled over the comm channel. "Your navigation systems can't possibly." Elena cut the transmission. "Status of the quantum architecture. Operating at 97% efficiency." Chief Engineer Puddle reported from engineering. "The adaptive matrices are fully synchronized. They still haven't realized what they're actually shooting at." The Dauntless was humanity's best-kept secret, a testbed for experimental technologies disguised as an obsolete warship. While other species focused on building bigger, more impressive vessels, humanity had learned to hide their advances in plain sight. The ship's quantum architecture could analyze enemy weapon signatures in real time, adapting its defenses and developing countermeasures within seconds. "They're launching fighters," Santos announced. "Standard swarm tactics." Elena's smile widened slightly. "Perfect. Deploy the cage systems." What appeared to be simple point defense turrets on the Dauntless's hull suddenly transformed, revealing complex geometric patterns that began to pulse with subtle energy. The collective fighters flew straight into an invisible web of quantum fields that disrupted their guidance systems and power cores. "Multiple fighter squadrons disabled," Santos reported, unable to keep the satisfaction from her voice. "Their main fleet is adjusting formation. They seem confused about how to proceed." "I imagine they are." Elena leaned forward in her chair. "They based their entire strategy on what they thought they knew about us. Time to show them how much they don't know." Charge the Nova Array. Deep within the Dauntless, systems that appeared on no official registry began to power up. The ship's apparent power signature, which had registered as barely adequate for basic operations, suddenly bloomed into something that made the collective's sensors scream warnings. "Ma'am," John called out, We're receiving multiple hails from the collective fleet. They're requesting a temporary ceasefire to discuss terms. Elena considered the request for a moment, watching as the enemy fleet frantically adjusted their positions. They had expected an easy victory over what they saw as an inferior force. Instead, they found themselves facing something they couldn't understand. A ship that seemed to break all the rules they thought they knew about human technology. "Accept the hail," she finally said, "but keep all systems at ready status. Let's teach them a lesson about judging books by their covers." As the communication channel opened, Elena couldn't help but think about how this encounter would change the galaxy's perception of humanity. They weren't the primitive species many thought them to be, content with outdated technology and borrowed innovations. They were patient, clever, and far more dangerous than anyone suspected. The Dauntless might look like a relic, but she represented humanity's true strength, the ability to evolve and adapt while letting their adversaries underestimate them. It was a strategy that had served them well for centuries, and today it would serve them again. Hidden depths. The holographic projection of Overseer Vextel materialized on the Dauntless's bridge, his crystalline features twisted in what Elena recognized as confusion. The collective leader's translucent form flickered as he studied the human crew, particularly focusing on their manual control interfaces. "Commander Reyes," Vextel's harmonic voice resonated through the bridge. "Your vessel's capabilities are unexpected. Our databases indicate the Dauntless is a Sentry-class defensive cruiser commissioned over 100 years ago. Yet its performance defies our most sophisticated analysis." Elena exchanged knowing looks with her crew before responding. "Perhaps your databases need updating, Overseer. Humanity has always valued its privacy when it comes to military innovation." Chief Engineer Patel's voice came through on a secure channel. "Commander, the quantum architecture is showing some interesting patterns. It's not just analyzing their weapons anymore. It's learning their command structure, their tactical algorithms. The ship is evolving." This was why the Dauntless was special. Unlike conventional warships with static systems, its quantum architecture was designed to grow and adapt. Each encounter with alien technology made it stronger, smarter, more capable. The ship was as much a living laboratory as it was a defensive platform. "Your privacy has cost the lives of many collective pilots," Vextel stated, his tone hardening. "Those fighters contained some of our finest warriors." "Your pilots are alive, Overseer," Elena countered. "The cage system only disabled their craft. They can be safely recovered once we conclude our discussion. We're not the primitives you assumed us to be." The revelation seemed to startle the collective leader. Their technology was supposed to be unreachable by human standards, yet here was a ship that could not only match it but disable it without destruction. The implications clearly disturbed him. "The quantum signature we're detecting from your vessel," Vextel continued, "it resembles theoretical work by our own scientists. Work that was abandoned as too unstable, too unpredictable to implement. How did you solve the cascade problem?" Lieutenant Santos suppressed a smile at her tactical station. The collective, like most advanced species, had explored quantum architecture but given up when their AI models predicted catastrophic failure. They hadn't considered the human element, the intuitive leaps that machines couldn't replicate. "We didn't solve it," Elena explained, allowing a hint of pride to enter her voice. "We embraced it. The unpredictability you feared became our greatest advantage. The Dauntless doesn't just use quantum systems, it learns from them, grows with them. Every decision we make, every battle we fight, adds to its understanding." As if to demonstrate her point, the ship's systems suddenly hummed with new energy. The quantum architecture had finished its analysis of the collective's fleet, creating perfect countermeasures for every weapon in their arsenal. What had started as a defensive adaptation was now a comprehensive tactical advantage. "Impossible," Vextel whispered, his crystalline form shimmering with agitation. "Our simulation showed that organic minds couldn't process quantum interactions quickly enough to maintain stability." The neural load alone should be fatal. Elena finished for him. That would be true if we were trying to control the quantum systems. Instead, we guide them. The architecture learns from us, adapts to our intuitions. It's a partnership, not a master-slave relationship like your neural interfaces. The bridge crew watched as understanding dawned in the Overseer's alien features. The Dauntless wasn't just a ship, it was the product of a fundamentally different approach to technology. While the collective sought to perfect and control their innovations, humanity had learned to work with the chaos, to grow alongside their creations. "Commander," Patel's voice came through again. "The architecture has completed its analysis. You need to see this. The collective fleet, their entire command structure is based on predictive algorithms. We can anticipate their tactics before they execute them." Elena kept her expression neutral, but inwardly she marveled at the ship's capabilities. The quantum architecture had transcended its original design parameters, turning the collective's technological superiority into a weakness. Their reliance on advanced AI and predictive systems made them vulnerable to an opponent that could learn and adapt in real time. "Overseer Vextel," Elena addressed the hologram, "I suggest you consider your next actions carefully. The Dauntless may look like a relic, but appearances can be deceiving. We're prepared to demonstrate more of our capabilities if necessary, though I'd prefer a peaceful resolution." The threat was clear but measured. The collective fleet still outgunned them in raw firepower, but the Dauntless had proven it could neutralize their advantages. More importantly, it had shown that humanity's technological development had taken a very different path than the rest of the galaxy had assumed. As the Overseer's hologram flickered with indecision, Elena reflected on the irony of the situation. The collective had come to demonstrate their superiority, to force humanity to acknowledge their technological dominance. Instead, they were learning a crucial lesson about human innovation. True advancement didn't always mean bigger ships or more powerful weapons. Sometimes it meant finding new ways to work with systems others had dismissed as impossible. The turn of the tide. Overseer Vextel's hologram vanished from the bridge without warning. Moments later, the collective fleet burst into action, their ships breaking formation in what appeared to be a chaotic scatter. But Elena knew better. Their AI systems had calculated a complex attack pattern designed to overwhelm the Dauntless's defenses. "They're using a meridian strike formation," Lieutenant Santos reported, her fingers dancing across her console, "trying to create blind spots in our defensive coverage." Elena nodded, having already anticipated this move. "Activate the mirror protocol. Let's show them why predictability is a weakness." The Dauntless's quantum architecture had already analyzed and mapped every possible attack vector the collective's combat algorithms might choose. As their ships moved to surround the human vessel, the architecture began its counterplay. What looked like random patches of corrosion on the hull suddenly shifted, revealing layers of quantum-entangled metamaterials. "Incoming fire from multiple vectors," Santos called out. "Energy weapons, mass drivers, and something new. Reading exotic particle signatures. They're testing our defenses," Elena observed, her hand steady on the manual controls. "Trying to find our limits. Chief Patel, how's our adaptation rate?" "The architecture is processing faster than they can adapt," Patel responded from engineering. "Each new weapon signature is being cataloged and countered before it can reach full effectiveness." "But Commander, there's something else. The ship is suggesting the strategy." That was new. The quantum architecture had never directly proposed tactical options before. "Show me." A holographic display materialized in front of Elena, showing a complex pattern of energy flows and quantum states. The architecture had identified a fundamental flaw in the collective's approach to space combat. Their reliance on synchronized attacks controlled by linked AI systems made them vulnerable to quantum interference. "Lieutenant Zhang, broadcast on all frequencies," Elena ordered. "Last chance for surrender, Overseer. What happens next is your choice." The only response was another barrage of weapons fire. This time, the collective ships fired in perfect synchronization, their AI systems coordinating to create a web of destructive energy that no conventional shield could withstand. But the Dauntless was far from conventional. "Execute mirror protocol," Elena commanded. Full spectrum response. The metamaterials coating the Dauntless's hull suddenly blazed with captured energy. Every shot fired by the collective fleet was absorbed, analyzed, and repurposed in microseconds. The quantum architecture didn't just defend against their attacks. It learned from them, adapted them, and turned them back on their originators. Multiple direct hits on collective vessels, Santos reported with barely contained excitement. Their shields, they can't adapt fast enough. Their own weapons' signatures are being used against them. On the tactical display, Elena watched as the collective fleet's formation began to break down. Their AI systems, confronted with weapons data that matched their own signatures, were caught in recursive loops trying to counter their own attack patterns. "Commander," Patel's voice held a note of awe. "The architecture is doing something unprecedented. It's not just mimicking their weapons, it's improving them. Each reflection is more efficient than the original." Elena allowed herself a grim smile. "They wanted to see our limits. Show them." The Dauntless moved with impossible grace, its ancient hull now gleaming with captured energy. Every attempt by the collective to adjust their tactics was met with an immediate and enhanced response. Their sophisticated AI systems, designed to find optimal solutions through prediction and computation, were being systematically dismantled by a human ship that could think and adapt faster than they could calculate. "Collective vessels are going dark," Santos reported. "Their power systems are failing. Wait, receiving emergency broadcasts. They're requesting immediate cessation of hostilities." "Stand down weapons," Elena ordered, "but maintain defensive posture." She turned to Zhang. "Open a channel to the Overseer's ship." When Vextel's hologram reappeared, his crystalline features showed clear signs of stress. "Commander Reyes," he began, his harmonic voice wavering, "we underestimated your capabilities. Significantly." "A common mistake," Elena replied calmly. "One that humanity has learned to use to our advantage. Your fleet will be allowed to withdraw. But first, we need to discuss the future of human collective relations. I think you'll find we have much to teach each other." As the Overseer began negotiations for his fleet's withdrawal, Elena reflected on the true victory they had achieved. The Dauntless hadn't just won a battle. It had demonstrated a fundamentally different approach to technological advancement. While the collective sought perfection through control and prediction, humanity had embraced uncertainty and adaptation. The quantum architecture hummed contentedly around them, already incorporating the lessons learned from this encounter into its ever-evolving systems. The old ship had proven once again that true strength didn't come from raw power or advanced technology, but from the ability to grow, adapt, and turn apparent weaknesses into unprecedented advantages. Legacy of innovation. In the aftermath of the battle, the Dauntless's bridge had transformed into an impromptu diplomatic chamber. Holograms of both collective and human leadership flickered around Commander Elena Reyes as she stood at the center of a historic moment. The ship's quantum architecture hummed quietly in the background, still processing and integrating the wealth of data from the recent engagement. "Your vessel's capabilities exceed anything in our records," High Ambassador Zixtal, superior to Overseer Vextel, observed through the quantum link. His crystalline form shimmered with colors that Elena had learned indicated intense curiosity. "But what troubles our council more is how you achieved this level of advancement without detection." Elena exchanged glances with Admiral Chen, whose hologram represented Earth Command. The Admiral gave a subtle nod. Permission to reveal what had previously been humanity's most closely guarded technological secret. "The Dauntless isn't unique," Elena began, watching the ripple of surprise pass through the assembled alien representatives. "She's simply the first to reveal her true nature. Every outdated ship in our fleet carries similar capabilities, each one a laboratory for different aspects of quantum integration." The revelation caused visible disturbance among the collective leadership. Their entire strategic assessment of human military capabilities had been based on a carefully crafted illusion. What they had dismissed as technological stagnation was, in fact, one of the most ambitious research and development programs in galactic history. Chief Patel, Elena called. Please share the architecture's analysis of the engagement. The engineering chief's voice carried a note of pride as holographic displays materialized, showing the evolution of the Dauntless's systems during the battle. The quantum architecture didn't just defend against the collective's weapons, it understood them. Each engagement allowed us to advance our own technology by years, perhaps decades. Impossible, one of the collective scientists interrupted. The computational requirements alone ruled. That's where you're still not understanding. Patel cut in. We don't try to compute everything. The architecture learns, adapts, evolves. It's not about processing power. It's about growth and intuition. We work with the quantum uncertainty instead of trying to control it. Admiral Chen stepped forward, her hologram commanding attention. What you witnessed today was the culmination of a century-long strategy. While the galaxy raced to build bigger ships and more powerful weapons, humanity took a different path. We learned to hide our advances in plain sight, to let our technology evolve naturally through real-world experience rather than simulation. The Dauntless's systems pulsed softly, as if in agreement. The quantum architecture was still integrating the lessons learned from the battle, becoming something new with each passing moment. Elena could feel the subtle changes through her neural interface, not controlling, but partnering with the evolving technology. Your approach defies conventional wisdom, High Ambassador Zixtal said slowly. Our civilizations have always believed that technological progress must be carefully controlled, each advancement thoroughly tested and predicted before implementation. That's exactly why we succeeded, Elena replied. You see uncertainty as a threat. We see it as an opportunity. The Dauntless doesn't just use technology. She grows with it. Each challenge makes her stronger, more adaptive. It's an approach as old as humanity itself. Learn by doing, adapt to survive. Turn weaknesses into strengths. The discussion continued for hours, delving into the philosophical and practical implications of humanity's technological path. The collective leaders were forced to confront their own assumptions about progress and innovation. Their society had sought perfection through control, while humanity had found strength in adaptation and growth. There will need to be changes, Admiral Chen stated firmly. The existing treaties between humanity and the collective were based on false premises. We're prepared to share some of our advances, but on equal terms. As the negotiations proceeded, Elena found her attention drawn to the tactical displays where the disabled collective ships were being assisted by human repair crews. The Dauntless's quantum architecture had already developed more efficient ways to restore their systems, incorporating the best elements of both human and collective technology. Commander, Patel's voice came through on a private channel. You should see this. The architecture. It's not just repairing their ships. It's teaching their systems how to adapt. We're not just sharing technology. We're sharing our entire approach to innovation. Elena smiled, understanding the deeper implications. The true victory wasn't just in defeating the collective fleet. It was in showing them a new way forward. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to grow, to learn, to evolve. Now, through the quantum architecture of ships like the Dauntless, they could share that gift with the galaxy. Dawn of recognition. 6 months after the Battle of New Eden, the Dauntless approached Earth's orbital shipyards, her hull gleaming with new purpose. Commander Elena Reyes stood at her familiar position on the bridge, watching as vessels from across the galaxy moved through the busy space lanes. Among them were several collective ships, their once pristine designs now incorporating visible elements of human quantum architecture. Amazing how much can change in half a year, Lieutenant Zhang remarked, monitoring the incoming transmissions. Hard to believe these are the same people who tried to force our surrender. Elena nodded, remembering the tense negotiations that had followed their victory. The revelation of humanity's true technological capabilities had sent shockwaves through galactic society. The collective, once convinced of their superiority, had been forced to confront the limitations of their rigid approach to advancement. "Commander," Chief Patel's voice carried through the comm system, "the architecture wants to show you something." A holographic display materialized, showing the evolution of the Dauntless's systems since the battle. The quantum architecture hadn't stopped growing, learning, adapting. But now it was doing something unprecedented. Actively collaborating with collective technology, creating hybrid systems that exceeded the capabilities of either approach alone. The Joint Research Initiative is already yielding results. Admiral Chen's hologram appeared on the bridge. The collective's precision combined with our adaptability. We're seeing advances that neither civilization could have achieved alone. The tactical display showed dozens of ships in various stages of modification. The collective had embraced humanity's philosophy of continuous evolution, while human vessels benefited from their allies' advanced computational capabilities. It was a synthesis that transformed apparent competitors into partners. Latest report from the diplomatic court, Zhang announced. 3 more species have requested partnership in the Quantum Integration Program. They're calling it the Renaissance Initiative. Elena smiled at the term. Humanity's approach to technology had sparked something of a renaissance throughout known space. The idea that advancement didn't require perfect control, that systems could be allowed to grow and evolve naturally, had revolutionized how civilizations thought about progress. The Dauntless herself had become a symbol of this new era. Her seemingly antiquated hull now housed the most sophisticated blend of human and alien technology ever created. But unlike pure collective systems, these innovations weren't hidden behind gleaming perfection. The ship wore her evolution proudly, each modification visible proof of lessons learned and obstacles overcome. Incoming transmission from Overseer Vextel, Jean reported. He's requesting permission to observe our next architectural integration phase. Permission granted, Elena replied. Remind him that observation isn't just about watching. It's about understanding the philosophy behind the process. That had been the hardest lesson for their new allies to learn. The quantum architecture wasn't just a technology to be replicated. It was a fundamentally different way of thinking about progress. It required accepting uncertainty, embracing change, and trusting in the partnership between organic intuition and evolving systems. Multiple ships detecting quantum signature fluctuations, Santos reported from Tactical. The architecture is teaching them. Not just sharing data, but showing them how to adapt on their own. This was humanity's true gift to the galaxy, not the technology itself, but the understanding that real advancement came through growth, adaptation, and the courage to embrace the unknown. The Dauntless and ships like her weren't just warships or laboratories. They were living proof that looking backwards could sometimes be the best way to move forward. As the Dauntless docked at the orbital station, Elena reflected on how far they'd come. What had started as a desperate defensive strategy, hiding their true capabilities behind an aging facade, had evolved into something far more significant. They had shown the galaxy that true strength didn't come from achieving perfection, but from the continuous journey of improvement. New contact, Santos announced. Unknown configuration. Wait. The architecture is saying it's an entirely new design. A true hybrid of human and collective engineering principles. The ship that appeared on their screens was unlike anything seen before. It combined the collective's precision with humanity's adaptability, wearing its evolutionary nature proudly rather than hiding it behind false perfection. It was the first of what would become known as the Renaissance-class vessels, ships designed not just to travel through space, but to grow and learn from every journey. Send to all stations, Elena commanded. The next phase begins now. She turned to face her crew, seeing in their eyes the same pride and purpose she felt. We didn't just change how the galaxy sees humanity. We changed how they see progress itself. The quantum architecture hummed in agreement, its evolving systems already reaching out to connect with the new hybrid vessel. In the space around them, ships of various species began incorporating the lessons learned from the Dauntless, each finding their own way to balance control and adaptation, precision, and growth. Humanity had shown the galaxy that true advancement didn't come from perfect solutions imposed from above, but from the willingness to embrace change, learn from failure, and grow stronger with each challenge. The age of rigid technological progression was over. A new era of continuous evolution had begun, and every ship in space was now part of that journey.